Right, new video. This one is going to be on the rear subframe rebuild, as I previously mentioned in my last video. So the rear subframe for the hatch and the saloon is identical. So that's it there. That's as you see it looking underneath the car. That face. So there's a new one, which has been sandblasted and powder coated, as I've said. So the subject of this video is going to be the bushes, getting the bushes in. I've done a previous video on I've already put those two in. Look, I've already done a previous video on taking the bushes out. So as I've mentioned in that video, you need to be careful taking the bushes out. There's the bush removal tool. That's the same tool used for taking them out and back in again. So as you can see, the subframe has got a hollow section in the middle. So with the tool you run the risk of crushing this surface and possibly even that surface as well. So, and I think I covered it in my last video. So anyway, yeah, the important details I want to get across about the bushes is they need to be put in a certain orientation. So this one here has got straight edges on, as you can see. This one here has got like a 90-degree straight edge that way, straight edge that way. So what I've drawn by the side of the hole where the bushes go in, I've drawn that little L shape just to remind me which way they go in. So like that, and that one goes in the same way, look. So I'll show you in a minute. These are hollowed out bushes, so that's to fit the poly bushes if you want, but I'm going to go standard. So there's the poly bush there, look, and that just pushes in. So once you've pressed that cup into the frame, then you press that into the cup. When you're doing it, you'll want some stud lock as well. So Ford used a certain type of glue, which from my experience you can't get hold of now. I don't seem to be able to find it, so I've been advised that that's a good equivalent. Bearing, fit and stud lock. So that's what I've been using on these. I've done a few now. I did the Derv subframe going back quite a few years ago now, and that's still holding up. That's still fine. So like I said, I've got the old one there. I'm going to use that as a reference for the bushes and for the arms. I've got brand new arms to go on. I've mentioned about the bolts as well. The bolts going to be going in brand new. Yeah, so it's all going to be hopefully pretty much brand new. I've got a brand new sway bar up there as well, look. So that'll all be new. I've got all the sway bar brackets and bushes. They're poly bushes, but again I don't think I'm going to be using the poly bushes, to be honest. So yeah, I'll get cracking with these bushes. So this frame's been, like I've said, sandblasted and powder coated. One little thing I'd like to point out is I found if I try and put a bush in, so this is all painted obviously, the inside of these maintenance surfaces, as far as I'm aware, need to be clean. That needs to be bare steel. So bare steel on the frame, bare steel of the frame against the bare steel of the bush cup, if you like, the bush housing, whatever you want to call it. Because I've tried to, just to see, I've tried to push a bush in without cleaning the paint, and it's really tight, and I was worried I was going to damage, bend the frame like I was talking about earlier. So I'm pretty sure these surfaces have to be cleaned of all the paint and stuff. So the other thing what you could do to try and help yourself is put the bush in the freezer to contract it and warm the frame up slightly. So the bush is going to be slightly smaller and the frame is going to be slightly bigger. Hopefully that might help. But these are my bushes. So yeah, what I've done in the past is I've put that in the freezer. I've put all 4 of them in the freezer overnight, and then warmed the frame up, taken them out and fit them in. So yeah, that bush needs to go in that orientation, like that. Don't ask me why, but that's the way they were fitted from factory, so that's why I'm going to put them back in. When you put them back in, just before you put them back in, you go all around these edges. So the edges that meet the surfaces on the frame, like around there, and on this end here, this end of the bush, you put your stud lock. Press it in, make sure it's right in, job's done. Job's a good in. Alright, so I'll set you up and bring you back. So these subframes got 3 holes in underneath here, and I've cut 3 bolts the same length as the thickness of the inside of the frame, and that's to try and reduce the chances of crushing the frame. It's a bit fiddly to fit, but once they're in, it's not a bad idea, I don't think. probably put a little bit too much on the last one, so I won't go quite so mad with this one. That should do it, I think. So then this one has got the two straight edges. So again, just get it in the right orientation. Once Rafi is all lined up, nice and square, you can put the tool on and pull it in. Right, so this is what I'm talking about with the bolts. So as you can see, on the underside of the frame, or I should say the top side, this is the side that is up against the underside of the car. There's those 3 holes around the bush. So what I do is I've cut 3 bolts that are the same length as the depth, as the thickness of the subframe. So the end of that bolt, once it's in that hole, is resting on the underside of the frame, inside the frame obviously, so you can't see it, but the reason for that, the reason I do that is I think it reduces the chance of crushing the frame. I know I keep on about it, but you know, the last thing you want to do is crush a frame if you've gone to the bother of cleaning this up and have money spent on sandblasting and powder coating. So then what happens is you put you set the tool on top of the bolt heads, and then the other side of the tool you screw up. And if you can imagine, as you're tightening it up and you're pulling that bush in, those bolts are going to be resting against the underside of the frame, and hopefully stopping the frame from crushing. Okay, so these are the bolts I'm talking about. These are the camber adjustment bolts. As you can see, they've got an offset washer. So these are the expensive ones I'm talking about. So that side of the bolt is 19 and that nut is 18. So with that bolt just pinched up, I'm now going to get my measurement from the old frame, measure it from there, from the reference point, and tighten that bolt up. So with the end of that rule flat against the surface of that arm to the frame just there, that's 70mm. I'm going to do that out there tight, recheck it. Yeah, that's pretty good, 70mm. Right, do something similar with the other three. So I've got these washers in the same position as the washers on the frame. The old frame, I meant to say. As you can see, and the washer and the washer on the bolt corresponds to the washer on the nut, if you see what I'm saying. So for now, that's good enough, I think, because like I say, this is going to all be going off for Hunter wheel alignment. So just until I get to the wheel alignment place, I think this should be good enough. So I've just picked a point on the frame, just at the side of this bush, just there, just a reference point, and I measure in to the underside of the arm. So I've taken that measurement off the old frame, put it onto this one, basically. I'll go around and torque all these up once I've finished. I haven't even looked at the torque specs yet on these, but I'm not going to worry about it too much, like I said, until the four-wheel alignment's done. Okay, so this is the new sway bar. I'm just going to fit the brackets and the sway bar bushes on. So these aren't brand new, but they were brand new back in 2021, so I'm going to reuse them. Just put a little bit of red rubber grease inside, so they open up like that. Slip them on, and then the bracket goes on over the top like that, and that's it, dead easy. Yeah, so it's simply a case of hooking that part of the bracket into this hole on the subframe. And then simply bolting the bracket down. So that's something I should have mentioned on the rear end restoration. Once you've finished painting, it's a good idea to go around cleaning out any threaded holes. And the same with this, when it comes back from sandblasting and powder coating, like I'm doing here. Just clean these holes out. Eight mil thread, by the way, that was 8mm tap. But yeah, get those brackets in finally without damaging the paint, and then you can get these daft bolts in. They're made of chocolate, and that runs in there quite nice now. Okay, so as you can see, the subframe's finished now. All that's left to do is to torque these bolts. So they're 103 Newton meters. At the same time, I want to be checking the distance between the arm and the frame on my reference points that I've taken off of the old subframe. I also need to be looking at the cam bolts as well, make sure the cams aren't moving. Again, I've referred back to the old frame, the positions of the cam bolts, and I've transposed them onto this frame. So I'll be doing the best I can to make sure they're in the correct position and they stay in the correct position as I'm torquing. You probably noticed I've used the poly bushes on the anti-roll bar. That's just because I think they're a little bit more durable, but yeah, so I'm going to torque these, check these measurements between the frame and the bars, the arms, and yeah, that'd be pretty much it. (103). Torque in the nut rather than the bolt. Yeah, that's all good. So the measurements, I'm not going to make sure they're absolutely mil perfect at the moment, because like I say, it's going to be going on the Hunter four-wheel alignment when it's all back together on the car. So that's pretty much it. The next video is going to be on the rebuild, the rear end rebuild, and I'll show installing the subframe back to the car on that video. But one of the subjects I will be covering is the alignment pins. So there's a lot of people that say the alignment pins are important. They're probably right, they're probably not that important, but I want to make sure this thing is lined up properly, absolutely spot on from the word go to, you know, just reduce the chances of any problems. So what I've done is made these alignment pins. I got them turned on a lathe, and as you can see, there's two different diameters there because the holes in the subframe are actually two different size diameter holes in the subframe. So I'll just quickly show you now. So there's the hole there, and as you can see, the hole on the other side of the subframe is a slightly smaller hole, and that smaller hole is the same size as the hole in the underside of the car in the chassis rail. So this is upside down now obviously, but as you can imagine, that pin is going to sit in there. And then that end of the pin is going to go up into the chassis rail, in the hole in the chassis rail. So the whole point of that, I think, the whole reason Ford did that was to make sure that this pin was square, because I think it reduces the chances of the pin going in square. It just makes sure it's all locked in square in position. So I think if Ford went to that bother to make these two holes different diameters, and when you look at the pin, the specific pin that you buy for these things, I mean, no, this is just made up, but I've made this one on the basis of the pins that you buy online, which are quite expensive for what they are, to be honest. They've got two different diameters as well, so they're thinner at one end than the other. So there's a reason for it all, so I've just gone along with that. So anyway, yeah, that's my take on it all. You know, you do whatever you want. Apparently a 14mm socket to do it, or a broom handle even, a lot of people say, but to be honest with you, I'm going to be going with that method. So yeah, that'd be in the rebuild video, the next video. So yeah, as always, I hope someone found this useful, and like, subscribe, comment, all the rest of it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.